Good afternoon, folks. It's good to be here. Happy New Year to all of you watching, wherever you're watching from. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Beautiful Tuesday afternoon here in Liberia. It's good to be here. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Much to be grateful for. Grateful for the gift of life, good health. We're not better than those who did not make it to the new year. We're only here by His grace. I had some, so I got up in the morning wanting some fresh coconut water and some golden plum. So apparently we're not in golden plum season at the moment, so I couldn't get the golden plum. And the guy said they couldn't find the coconut. So they were able to come in the yard. There's a coconut tree right here in the yard, and they got the coconut from there. They got me 3. Oh my God, this coconut water tastes so good. These are some of the amazing things about Liberia, living here. So how do you all do, man? It's good to be on here. As you all know, I don't speak often, but yes, I'm losing weight. I'm losing weight, and I love it. It's a lot of effort. I've been dieting, so I'm losing weight, and it's quite noticeable, right? I have lost a total of about 36 or 38 pounds. Yeah, about 38 pounds. And now I have to start bulking later on to try to get the muscles back on. Yeah. But yes, I'm losing weight. I was too heavy. I was 265 pounds. All this delicious Liberian food does that to you. You just eating and eating and eating, and then you start. But I look good now in my knees. I'm a very tall guy, a lot of weight, and then it affects the knees. So that's not cool at all. Well, where are you carrying all that weight anyway? Yeah. So share the podcast, share the live feed, and today we're talking exclusively about the ongoing efforts by some lawmakers, led by Senator Yomli Kanga Lawrence, the pro tem, my own dear sister. And I'm going to call her out here. Yeah. And call out my own friend Darius Dillon for what they're attempting to do. I'm on a live podcast. Stop calling me, please. So I'm going to be discussing what they're planning. You know, people don't seem to learn. People don't seem to realize, and they think people are stupid. You know, they think that we're sitting here and we don't know what they're doing or what they're planning to do or what their real intentions are. And so, I mean, this is unfortunate. These are people who we helped get elected, and they're you know. So we need to call them out. You know. But before I get down to that, you all know we like to wait until we hit 1,000 people. Now we have about 700 people watching. So I want to greet you all. I hope you all are doing good. I'm doing very, very well. And I see a lot of people telling me, well, why are you trying to lose weight like that? Why are you trying to... if you had to carry 265 pounds with you around and on bad knees, I mean, that is a terrible thing. But I feel lighter. I have greater agility. I don't feel the pains in my knees anymore. And so it's a good thing. I see my man DJ Blue jumping rope all the time, every morning, and I like that. I like that for him. It's a good thing trying to stay healthy and lose some weight, and it's a good thing. Yeah. So I have currently I'm 222 pounds. I'm trying to come down to about 200 pounds. 200 pounds. And some of y'all worry about the wrong thing. Why you worry about whether I look dry, whether I look tall? I mean, fat. Y'all left fat in the country too bad, Fat ain't got nothing. Yeah, but anyway, I want to greet all of you. Happy New Year. I want to thank God for you and your family, that you're alive, and especially if you have good health. It's something to be grateful to God for. I want to say I listened to the president's radio appearance the other day, and I think it was rather good. President Boakai, one of his strengths is that he is an honest communicator. So when he talks, it's very refreshing. The presidency hasn't changed that about him. What do I mean by that? When Joe Boakai speaks, he will speak to you honestly about what he knows, how he feels, and that radio appearance was really, really good. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you will agree with me. I saw a lot of positive reactions to the president's radio appearance. A lot of people were very impressed with the refreshing honesty with which he spoke, the passion, things he's doing and things he's looking to do. And one of the things he said that were quite refreshing, and a lot of people were in disagreement with him, but I completely agree with the president, is when he said, when they asked him the question, do you think George Weah could come back to power? And the president gave a rather honest answer. He said, it depends. He said, Mr. Weah is a popular person. Yes, he has some support inside and outside the country. And depending on how well we perform. And the president could not be more right. And that is true. Depending on how this administration performs, George Weah could come back or not come back. And I said, this is an honest answer from an honest leader. That's it. And the political answer would be by some people, oh no, Weah could never come back to power. You don't know that. But the president knows that to ensure that Weah does not return to power, his administration has to deliver. And the president was also making that as a clarion call to his people, as a challenge to his people in the government, that we need to deliver so that Mr. Weah does not come back to power, so that Unity Party can stay longer in power. So that is very, very true. And I salute the president for that. So it's the way it should be. Yeah, now we have 1,100 people watching and counting, so we can begin to speak to you now. So I want to say good afternoon and welcome. I'm Henry Costa, and the reason I have decided to do this podcast, this live stream today, is to speak to you on an issue. And all of you talking about weight, forget that. We're not talking about weight business here. We got something important to talk about. To speak to you on an effort led by Senator Yomli Kanga Lawrence, the pro temp of the Liberian Senate. And I'm going to be very respectful to Yomli. She is, or used to be, a political ally. I've been involved with Yombli's both campaigns for the Senate. Both campaigns. The first time Yomli Kanga Lawrence ran against Daniel Chi, former Defense Minister under Charles Taylor, after John Whitfield died in 2009, I believe, I was very involved with Yombli's campaign. From my talk show, we released, and it was not coincidental, it was planned, very serious, credible allegations against Daniel Chi, which led Daniel Chi, is discombobulated him, it upset him. He did a former AFL soldiers on the show to discuss things that Daniel Che did to them. And these were very serious things. So we did that for Yumli the first time. The second time Yumli Kanga ran in 2020 against Bezonga. The second time Yumli ran, we also played a very key role. You all remember. Yumli won the election by a very small margin against Bezonga Finlay. We released the scandal, evidence, documents, pictures of the role Finlay played as foreign minister in the passport scandal. Diplomatic, selling honorary consul positions to shady characters. We released all of the pieces of evidence, which again was a big nightmare for Bezonga Finlay. You all remember that. The role that we played trying to help Yumli in both elections. So we have every right to call her out when we believe she's treading the wrong path. As you all may be aware, or as some of you may be aware, Senator Yumli Kanga Lawrence has proudly and openly sponsored, campaigned for, lobbied for a bill or two bills seeking to supposedly decentralize the ports of our country. The free port of Monrovia, the Greenville port, the port in Harper, and the Buchanan port. You all know that. She's been involved with that. And they're trying to have us believe that their objectives for doing this is to decentralize the ports, which, as if to say in itself singularly, would then make these ports cash cows, turn them into cash cows, generating millions and millions of dollars just like that by themselves. And that is what she would have you believe. But today, I want to present to you the evidence, the facts, the real motivations, the real reasons driving Yumbli's very, very diligent efforts to fragment, to disintegrate, to bring chaos to the whole port system in our country. Why she's doing it? This has absolutely nothing to do with simply decentralizing. Nothing. You know, and I couldn't sit down much longer to allow this lie that Yumli is trying to tell you, feed us, that she's doing this to decentralize the ports so that the ports can be effective. I need to tell you. You all know I don't speak often. But sometimes you just have to break your silence so people know what's going on. And that is the reason for me doing this today. It's a lie. It's a malicious lie. She is trying to do something completely different. And I have the facts. I have all the evidence here. Everything. I will present you pictures. I will post some of these pieces of evidence so you know the real reason Yumli Kanga Lawrence, somebody who has benefited from our political support consistently over the years, is trying to do the same thing that the likes of Edwin Snow and Robert Sirleaf did with the free port of Monrovia, that today we've been dealing for more than 10 years with APM terminals. You all know how it has been, those of you who use the port of Monrovia. You know how APM terminal has turned out not to be a good deal until one of the ringleaders in helping to get the APM terminals deal passed, Edwin Melvin Snow, went on radio and publicly apologized and shared some crocodile tears and said he regrets his role in the APM terminals deal. That is exactly what Yumli is trying to do. Fragment the ports and then concession out the Buchanan port to a foreign company. I have the company here. I have pictures of Yumbli's people meeting with these people. I have everything here, including her family members and all. I have it here to show you. So let Yumbli stop lying to us and trying to make it look like, oh, we just want to decentralize the port. No. The Buchanan port is about to see increased traffic. APM term, ArcelorMittal, with this new deal, once this new extension or MDA is passed, they're going to increase their production from 5 million tons of iron ore a year. They're going to quadruple it to 20 million tons of iron ore a year. That's new traffic. More money going to the Buchanan port. The first thing that happened by the time Joe Boakai won, of all the nominations and recommendations Yombli could have made, she strategically recommended and pushed for Jonathan Kaipe, a man who had only lost the Senate election in 2023, recommending him to go to the Buchanan port. A Liberty Party guy, Jonathan Kaipe, Yombli's boy. He runs the Buchanan port. And that was all part of the grand scheme. First, we take control of the port, we run the port, then we can initiate our plan. And the person that is funding all of this, I will give you everything, is a rich French billionaire who is on record for funding crooked African politicians to buy up ports or get ports concession to him under deals, on arrangements that favor him, and then he sells them. That's who they're working for. Yeah, that's who's funding this thing. That is who's paying them. That is why they are doing this. So let Yombli stop with the lies. And so they submitted the bill. They got the bill passed. This billionaire put all his money in, got the bill passed. They submitted the bills to the president. Of course, once they got passed in the House and the Senate, they became acts. They submitted the acts to the president. The president reviewed the acts. I have the president's letter here. The president wrote the letter to Yombli Kanga Lawrence. Very detailed and very, very explanatory. The president vetoed the bill, the two acts. And the reasons the president gave are very clear. By the time the president vetoed these two acts, what did Yombli do? Yombli went right back, and this is in July 15th. The president wrote her, vetoed the bills and said, no, I cannot allow this to happen. We will not do this. You know what Yombli did? Yombli went and got back to work. Horribly. All the issues the president pointed out, they did not address any of those issues the president pointed out. The president said, number one, you cannot seek to pass such a legislation seeking to end the structure of our port system as we know it without getting the executive branch involved. The National Port Authority must be involved. The Ministry of Finance must be involved. The Ministry of Justice must be involved. Maritime, which stands to be affected if these bills are passed into law, must be involved. Get them involved. They did not. There was not one public hearing. Not one public hearing was called to do this. Not one. The president said, among other things, and I will read here. The president said, on page 2 of the president's veto letter, he said, and I quote, listen, this act would significantly weaken the Liberia Maritime Authority's statutory powers by transferring regulatory functions to a new agency. Now, Yombli is claiming that these acts, when passed into law, would decentralize all of the ports and they will work by themselves, right? But no, Yombli is seeking to create a new agency headed by 9 board members. 10% of the proceeds generated from all these ports would go to pay for these 9 board members to run these ports. So what's the point? You're saying that you want the ports to be independent, to be completely decentralized, but now you are advocating for the creation of a new body, a new agency. So the president is saying this act would significantly weaken the Liberia Maritime Authority's regulatory powers by transferring regulatory functions to a new agency. The president goes further to say, if signed into law, This is the president's veto letter, and I will list all the issues. If signed into law, the act would substantially render the Liberia Maritime Authority partially redundant. You hear what the president said? If I sign this thing into law, Yombly, what work would maritime be doing? You want me to take maritime's functions to inspect vessels, to certify vessels? You want me to take all of the functions and give them to this new agency? What would maritime be doing? The president said no. That's one count. Then they went ahead and said they will revise it and bring it back. But guess what? Did they revise it? Did they remove this? No. Now go and read the act. See 721 of the revised act. They did not change it. They left it as is and submitted and resubmitted to the president last week, Friday. They did not change it. Let me raise another issue the president raised in his veto letter. The president said, on page 4 of the president's veto letter, he said, quote, and I read it verbatim, the consolidation of regulatory, operational, and oversight duties within a single entity undermines the principle of regulatory independence, introduces conflict of interest. The president said, look, you want me to take all these powers of maritime, take all these powers of NPA, and collapse all of them into one regulatory body. It's going to cause conflict of interest. It's going to undermine regulatory independence. And so I will not sign this law into bill. So they went ahead. They said they will revise it, right? But guess what? When you read Section 506 of their so-called revised act, which they submitted to the president on Friday of last week, they did not change anything. That act says that in their act, the president said, I will not sign this thing because of this. So they went now supposedly to change it, right? But guess what? In Section 506 of their so-called revised act, it still reads, I'm going to read for you. All assets, port land, dock, piers, warehouses, etc., of each port will be transferred to and owned by the new regulatory agency. You see that? They didn't change it. They brought the same thing back to the president. Hold up. I'm going to read another thing the president said. The president said in his July 15th veto letter to Yombly Kangalores. The president said this again. Play with Joe Boakai. You think you can knock his head? You think you can con Joe Boakai head to do something that he will, because you are a political ally? And this should make us respect the president. Because a lot of people felt because this bill was sponsored by Yombly, Joe Boakai would just sign it into law. But Joe Boakai didn't do that. He didn't do that. This is what Joe Boakai said in his veto letter. One of the issues he raised in his veto letter to Yombly. Quote, and I'm reading verbatim. The general powers conferred upon a bill are broad. Such a bill are broad and far-reaching. Some include Section 401(2)(a). Most significantly, grants the agency power to enforce regulations of the Maritime Authority pertaining to the inspection, the testing, and supervision of seacraft. They took some of the key powers of Maritime Authority. Some of the key powers of the Liberia Maritime Authority, they took them and collapsed them here. Then the president, when the president raised this in their revised act, they did not change this. Go read Section 506 of their revised act they submitted to the president. They did not change it. Let's go to substantive issue number 9, raised by President Boakai in his veto letter. They are calling for the collection of 10% of all revenue of all the ports in Liberia to fund the new agency. I thought we were looking for a way to save money here. You're saying that this new agency, 10% of the revenue of all the ports generated should be given to this new agency to run. It's a 9-member board. The president also raised this issue. 9-member board? This is too huge. Why do we need a 9-member board? The president said, no. Now, did they change this? They did not change it in a revised act. Read Section 406 of the revised act that is submitted to the president. They did not change it. They want 10% of the revenue collected to fund this new agency. I have here the opinion of the Justice Minister on this act, or these acts that was submitted to the President, which were vetoed. The Justice Minister said, the exclusion of the executive from such significant legislative action, you hear that? Yombly excluded the executive branch of government. She did not get the executive involved in crafting these bills, did not invite them to appear for public hearings to make the input, their contributions. One of the things the President listed, she did not do it during the first time, and she did not also do it during the second time. Why is Yombly avoiding having the inputs of the executive branch of government? Why? When it is precedent that reforms to existing institutions of the government of Liberia are oftentimes initiated by the executive branch and not the legislature. If you want to reform an existing institution, it is the executive branch that initiates that process. It is not the legislative branch. The Justice Minister writes here in his opinion, the exclusion of the executive branch from such significant legislative action also carries profound political implications that extend beyond the immediate maritime restructuring. You know what the Justice Minister says? It establishes a precedent for unilateral legislative action that could fundamentally alter the dynamics of inter-branch relations in Liberia's democratic system. He is saying, how can the legislature get up and want to change a whole major national institution without eliciting the involvement, the inputs of the executive branch of government? How? Yombly, you've been in the Senate for all these years. Do you not know that this is how, that you cannot get up by yourself and seek to alter and change a whole branch of the government of Liberia without getting the executive involved, especially the branch you're seeking to change is an executive branch institution? The NPA, the port system, is not run by the legislature. It's an executive branch institution. You cannot seek to change how it is done without the inputs of the executive branch. My people, this is the opinion of the Justice Minister, who, by the way, is an ally of Yombly Kanga Lawrence. Now, this makes me give him some kudos. Yeah, he gave an opinion that contradicts Yombly's position, that runs contrary to Yombly's interest. It is an admirable thing. Let's read further. This precedent, listen to the Justice Minister. This precedent, Liberian people know it to be precedent, right? This precedent, that means if Yombly them are allowed to go on with this, take unilateral action to change an existing institution of the executive branch without the input of the executive branch, he says, and I quote, this precedent could encourage future legislatures, people who would come after Yombly and others, to bypass executive consultations on significant matters, gradually eroding the collaborative approach that has characterized Liberian governance. The Minister of Justice is saying to Yombly, if the executive branch allows you to go on like this, it is going to encourage future legislators, future lawmakers, future national legislature as a body to think that they have carte blanche to seek to change or make changes to completely alter in a chaotic fashion executive branch institutions. So we're not going to do it. We're sorry. That's what the Justice Minister said. The Justice Minister goes further. He said the cumulative effect, the overall effect of such actions could be the development of a more rigid separation between the branches, where each operates in isolation rather than in the cooperative manner that typically produces the most effective governance outcomes. He says, if we allow you, Young League, to proceed to try to tear down the National Port Authority and create something brand new by yourself without the involvement of the executive branch of government, this is going to cause a problem whereby there will be greater disintegration of the governance system of the country as opposed to the way it should work, which is there must be coordination of the three branches of government. So the Justice Minister said, no, Yombly, we're not going to stand for this. These three branches of government ought to be working together. You cannot get up by yourself and seek to change a very major institution of the executive branch of government without seeking the involvement, the acquiescence, the participation, the expert opinions of the executive branch. You cannot do that by yourself. And he said what it's going to do, it is going to affect the governance outcomes of the government now and in the future. The Justice Minister goes further. He said, furthermore, the political implications extend to public perception of governmental effectiveness. He said, how do you think the public is going to take it? That the legislature can just get up by itself and decide to change something as major as the National Port Authority system without the involvement of the executive branch of government. How do you think the public will see it? Citizens expect their government to operate cohesively. This is the Minister of Justice speaking, not me. These are his words, verbatim, in his opinion on this matter. He says, citizens expect their government to operate cohesively. They must work together. That's what he means, cohesively. We are separate, distinct branches of government, but there must be cohesion. We must work together, in tandem, in concert with one another, to ensure that the overall governance outcomes are good for the country. This is the Justice Minister's, these are his words. With branches working together to address national. Furthermore, the Justice Minister said, the Act's hybrid structure, the hybrid structure of this Act that Yombly presented to the President, resembling elements of different international governance models without adapting any single model coherently. He said the thing that thing. He said, you're not even ready to think good. That's what the Justice Minister is saying. Let me break it one down. He said, even the structure of the thing that you say you won't create one body that will regulate all the institutions and blah, blah, blah. He said, you're not doing correct. You're not even facing good. That the Justice Minister said, that means saying it. That's what he said. He said, furthermore, the Act, that means the bill that is submitted, the hybrid structure of it, is just tango, resembling elements of different international governance models without adopting a single model coherently. You just take it so, you take it so, you take it so, take it so. You're not smart. You just take different things. You put it together, tango, then you submit it to the president. Then the president must sign it into law. He reads further. He writes further, and I read, creates a framework that lacks precedent among successful maritime administrations worldwide. He said the thing you put together said it makes sense. Anywhere in the world you go, nobody got that kind of structure in place. That the Justice Minister talking, that me. The Justice Minister writes further. He said this structural novelty, I like that, novelty. Novelty means new. That means the whole thing you're doing, the structural novelty, the structure you put together is new. So what it means is that structural novelty is new. That means the structure here is new. We see it nowhere in the world before. That's what the Justice Minister means by the structural novelty. It's new. Nobody has seen it anywhere in the world. Why? Not inherently problematic. He said why by itself is not problematic. Requires careful justification and comprehensive planning that appears to be absent from the current legislation. He said, even though your structure you put together is new, maybe it can work, maybe it will not work, but we need to plan carefully to make sure that it works. These are the words of the Justice Minister. There is a picture up there. That's his opinion. Fellow Liberians, I ain't even finished yet. We have more facts to give you. More facts to give you. Now I'm going to get to the point why Yombly is doing this. This is the juicy spot. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for the real reasons why Yombly is so desperate trying to get this thing passed? And then I have to call my brother Darius Dillon here. Dillon, you know the role we play to make you senator. Your first Senate raise, your second Senate raise, your first Senate raise will raise a lot of money. You declared your bid for senator on the June 7th protest. In the face of stiff opposition from other officials of the COP, which I created, I nominated you the spokesperson of the protest. Not that you are a better speaker than I am, but I made you spokesperson for the June 7th protest because I wanted you to use that platform to help your Senate election. You all remember. Tell me if I'm lying. People are like, but Costa, you have the biggest voice in the country. Why would you make Dillon the spokesperson? I said, I'm trying to help Dillon. We made you senator. Your second election, I raised $35,000 campaign for you. Everybody knows you got elected because of the work we did. Yombly is your big ally. And you're sitting down there and you're watching Yombly do this day long. I'm very disappointed in you. I have every right to be disappointed in you because the contributions I made to your election, had I not made those contributions, you probably would not be senator. In fact, there were those who said that it was I, rather than you, who should have been fielded by the opposition for the Senate position. I said to them, no, I am in school doing my bachelor's degree. I do not want to disrupt my school process. Let Dillon go. I was the most prominent opposition figure at the time in the country. Everybody said it should be me, not you. But I supported you. I told them, look, I'm a young person, much younger than Dillon. He's my senior about 5 years or more. I mean, about 10 years or more. Let Dillon go. And I do not regret that, Dillon. I do not regret that. I supported you. The history of your both elections as senator of Monserrate County cannot be written without Henry Costa's name being prominently mentioned. Everybody knows that. Your performance in the Senate, to a large extent, has impressed me. But on this particular one, you're sitting down there, Darius Dillon, my own dear friend, and you are allowing Yombly to try to make the exact same mistake that Edwin Snow and others made, to concession out our Freeport of Monrovia to APM terminals, a deal that we Liberians have come to suffer from. They promised they would make the port modern, they would improve infrastructure, it would be one of the best ports in the world. Instead, they've only made tens and tens of millions of dollars, and they have done no real transformation of the Freeport of Monrovia. And our dear sister Yombly is trying to repeat the exact same thing. I have here the strategic plan of the National Port Authority. The president's vision for the port system of our country is prominently articulated in the strategic plan of the National Port Authority. As we speak, these plans are being implemented. The president's vision for the port system is being implemented by the National Port Authority. The ports across this country will, for the first time, thanks to President Boakai's vision, be granted a degree of autonomy. Particularly, and perhaps most important among them, they will have their own budgets. They will have a degree of financial autonomy. They will have their own budgets, which will be approved. The funds will be given to them. They will spend their own money. hiring and firing decisions, HR decisions, for the most part, for lower level positions, will be done at these local ports or these regional ports. Only key appointments will be made by the National Port Authority, because the president wants to see decentralization happen. This is something the president is very passionate about. Instead of working to support the president's efforts to do this, you are seeking to fragment and cause disintegration so that you can proceed to concession this put out to a crooked French billionaire who has stood trial in France for bribing African politicians, for buying elections for African politicians so that they give him ports, which he sells. In 2002, the French billionaire that Yombly and others, and that Yombly is working for. This is the man Yombly is working for. Okay. This is the man Yombly is working for, folks. She's not working for no doggone decentralization. They're working for the French guy, Bolloré. Bolloré. His company stood trial in France for bribing African politicians. You know what he does? He buys elections for them. Go read up on him. I will post his name. He comes to your country. He would buy a whole election for you. Vincent Bolloré. Forbes has him with a net worth, 2026 net worth of $10 billion. In 2022, he sold the port division of his business to MSC for $5.7 billion. This French guy, he buys up ports, long concessions, favorable terms, and then he flips them. $5.7 billion. This is what he does. Now, the group he sold, MSC, the group he sold those postal in Africa, today they are called, they were Bolloré Logistics. Now they are called Africa Global Logistics, AGL. I will provide information about him. Vincent Bolloré. I'm going to spell his name in the podcast. Read up on him. How he buys elections for African politicians. Are you listening? He does not do business in any African country where he does not buy them the elections in our country. So which election is he promising to buy for my dear sister Yombly? The 2029 elections? Because that's his MO. Vincent Bolloré, read up on him. The French government investigated him for money laundering, for influence, financially inducing and buying elections in African countries, for politicians that sell ports to him. That's what he does. That is what Vincent Bolloré does. He's a French billionaire. So my question is, which election has he promised to buy for Yombly? Because this is how he operates. Read up on him. Don't take my word for it. Now, let me show you some evidence to show the connection. And I will post the pictures. Hold on, let me get a sip of my coconut water. You sit down there and think that Yombly trying to do this for decentralization. Oh, decentralization, decentralization. The president is already implementing decentralization. Before I show you these pictures, which I will publish on Facebook, Listen and listen very keenly to what I'm about to say. Which branch of government engages with foreign companies for the concessioning of an asset of that country? Which branch of government initiates that process? This is not a rhetorical question. I would like you to kindly answer this question for me. Which branch of government initiates the process of concessioning out an asset of the country to a foreign firm? Which branch of government does that? I'm waiting for your answer. Somebody said the executive branch. Thank you, my brother Tawazu. It is the executive branch that initiates that process. My people are smart. The executive branch is a branch that does that. Now, there's a reason why I asked that question. Now, while Yombli is trying to pass this thing quickly, she sent the first one to the president. President Bouaga vetoed it. Hurriedly, without even making changes to the revised acts, she submits the second one last Friday to the president. Of course, I'm told the president is going to also veto it because it didn't make any changes in it. Guess what? While the bill has not even been passed into law, Yombli has already been engaging the company that they are trying to give the port out to. You remember why Edwin Snow got into trouble when he was speaker? And it was one of the fundamental reasons given for his removal as speaker, because he took it upon himself to usurp the function of the executive branch of government by writing to the Taiwanese embassy in the Gambia. You recall? That is what Sister Yombli is trying to do here. Yombli Kanga Lawrence, I have these pictures, evidence, hard evidence of her family member and Jonathan Kaipe, her guy, at the Buchanan Port, and some lawmakers and Magdala Cooper already meeting with the Africa Global Logistics people. This group that's affiliated with the French billionaire, they are already meeting with them. They invited them to their offices. I have the evidence here. I will publish these pictures. You ain't even passed the thing into law yet. You already sending your family member, you already sending your party member to go meet with the French people to start negotiating. My people, you're listening? Your thing is that Yombli doing anything here, so these and a lot of port. No, Yombli only wants the Buchanan Port. They want rack the Buchanan Port. They want sell it to these people. You're listening? You're listening very keenly, my people. Yombli is not interested in decentralization. Yombli's agenda is fragmentation and chaos so they can sell the Buchanan Port. So what Yombli has already done here is against the very principle of the separation of powers. What right does she have to be sending lawmakers and her family member to meet with this group that is trying to buy the port? It is the same group that is funding, that is financing the whole process. You see how quickly these bills passed through the legislature and got to President Bouakai? Because the French guys are pumping the money. They're giving Yombli the money to pump the money, pumping the money, so that the moment the thing is passed, they're not even waiting. So, does the president know? Picture number 1. Can you see the pictures? I will publish the pictures. Picture number 2. Picture number 3. Picture number 4. Picture number 5. Picture number 6. Does the president know that Yombli has already been sending people to go meet these people, to inspect their infrastructure, their posts that they're running in other countries? Does Yombli have the power as a member of the legislative branch to be dispatching government delegations comprising only of lawmakers and her family members to go see these people? My people, did you all know this? Did you all know that the real agenda, the real motive behind this effort to fragment the ports is so that Yombli can get the Buchanan port, which she already controls, by having her guy Kaipe there? You're sitting now, you're thinking, oh, yeah, decentralization of the port is a good thing, and blah, blah, blah. But you don't know this. This is the plan. So, when the government wants to concession an asset now, that lawmaker we can send, that how we running their country now? That lawmakers and the family members of lawmakers we can send to go negotiate? A law has not been passed, and yet you are already engaging and receiving money to fund this whole process from a group that it has a history of buying elections for crooked African politicians. Fellow Liberians, I have the evidence. When I publish it, you will see. You will see people you know. Magdala Cooper is there. She's working with Yombli on this deal. The plan is, the moment the president passed this thing into law, then they will have control now over the Buchanan port, absolute control now, because it will supposedly be independent. The next thing you know, they're going to concession it out. 25, 30 years. Then we're going to start crying again about what's happening here at APA. They're going to run it. They're going to make millions and millions of dollars, and Yombli is going to be all right. And I cannot believe, and I'm coming back to my brother Darius DeLong, the man who is senator today, in a large part due to my very, very instrumental efforts. You know, when you help make somebody, especially in a great way, you have every right to call them out when they're going wrong. I help Yombli. Who he know I help Yombli yet? Two times when she ran for office. Who gave Besson Finley the name passport guy? Who published all the documents here on Besson Finley selling diplomatic passports and honorary consul positions? Henry Costa did that. Who called June 7 protest here when the opposition was dead, when nobody was brave enough to stand up to George Weah? Who called June 7 protest and who gave Dillon the platform and to run as senator for Montserrat County? Henry Costa did that. I have every right to call them out when they are proceeding wrongly, because I contributed immensely to their elections. I did that. Call me arrogant or whatever it is you want to call me, but you cannot revise history. It is written in stone. I did that. And so there is no way Darius DeLong is not in on this deal. Yombli would not be brave to be doing this deal without my brother DeLong being involved. My people, Allah. Do you think DeLong does not know about this shady deal to concession out this port to a shady company that buys elections for crooked African politicians? Do you not think DeLong is in on this deal? Do you not think that? Are you as naive to conclude that Darius DeLong is innocent? You could absolutely not be as naive. I bet my neck he is in on this deal. And so I came here today to take my time to explain to you what it is that I know, so you all cannot fall for their cheap tricks and their obfuscation of the facts and try to beguile you and deceive you into thinking that they are doing this because they want to bring better governance system to our port system. It is not that. It is far-fetched from it, far removed from it. The real, singular, parochial, selfish intention is so that they fragment the ports, then so that they can banjo our Buchanan port to those people. That is exactly what they are up to, and they ought to be called out, exposed, and the facts need to be presented so that you all know this. That is my singular mission today, and I think to a large extent I have accomplished that mission. I have every right to call Yombly out. I contributed immensely to her 2 elections. Oh, if I was not for some of you will not be senator. So now I charge you, all of you well-meaning Liberian citizens, go out there and challenge them. Challenge DeLong on Facebook. Call them out. Call Yombly out. Let them explain to us how they've been involved with such a sinister plan against our country. And to my dear uncle and President Joe Boakai, to our wise, beloved president, I know you shall veto the so-called revised act, which they did not revise at all, as you vetoed the original fraudulent one that was submitted to you. And if you did not have the facts as I have presented, the whole plan is to sell this port out the moment they have it. And you are members of the collaboration. You are members of the ruling coalition. How the hell are you in bed with crooked French companies and individuals who have a sordid history in Africa for buying up elections for crooked African politicians who sell them ports? How do you think the United Party allies are going to feel about you? How do you think they're going to see you? You're trying to mango and get their port so that you can sell it to these people? What kind of election are they promising to buy for you? Fellow Liberians, to all 2,600 of you currently watching, and the many tens of thousands of people that are going to watch this podcast, this live feed later. I love DeLong. I love Yombly. I couldn't have done all the things I did for them if I didn't love them. But I'm deeply disappointed in them. Deeply. They're not doing this for us. They're doing this for themselves, for the money. How do you think this bill hurriedly passed the first time and the second time and went to the president? How do you think? How do you think that happened? It happened because of a lot of money. A lot of money. Why would the president's political advisor, Magdala Cooper, be going on a trip to a foreign company discussing the possible concessioning of the Buchanan port without the president's explicit approval, without the president's knowledge and consent? I will end this podcast, this live feed. To those of you who are concerned about the way I look, I have lost about 38 pounds, and I'm very happy. Before I started my weight loss journey, I weighed 265 pounds. Before I went to the States, November 8th, I was too heavy. My knees were bad. My knees are bad, and so, all that weight, it didn't help. So I decided to lose weight. So if you're genuinely concerned, that is the truth for you. But I'm happy. If you think I lost weight because I'm suffering, fine, it's up to you. I'm suffering, yeah? I have not eaten in days. Yeah. That is why I lost weight. If you think I'm sick, well, fine, that's up to you. But yes, I'm very happy. I'm currently 222 when I stood on a scale this morning, and I intend to lose another 20 pounds, about 22 pounds. I want to come down to 200 pounds. And then I start bulking again, lifting weights. So to those of you who are genuinely concerned, because I know there are some people who are genuinely concerned. Genuinely, they want to know why I look the way I look. And I'm happy. I'm very happy. The only thing with losing a lot of weight is that your clothes stop fitting you well. Then you got to start considering changing your wardrobe. But I am happy. So folks, there you have it. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I wish you all a happy and prosperous New Year. I'm Henry Pedro Costa. And my head is so big, as you can see, that it cannot fit in anybody's mouth. I speak my mind. I'm a private citizen. I'm a businessman. I can speak freely. I support the administration. I support the president. I want him to succeed. I think he's doing his best. And anyone I see who is treading the wrong path, friend or foe, alike, I shall call you out. As I've just done my two friends, or now perhaps they would consider me former friend, Yombly and Delon. God bless you. Bye-bye.